So being stuck, this is something that I think a lot of people say to themselves, or a lot of people right now are saying that they're stuck. But I think the most important thing is that we all have to come to the truth. 80% of success in anything is psychology, 20% is strategy. So what we have to understand is the psychology behind us saying that we're stuck or we're between a rock and a hard place or any of these metaphors, right? Metaphors can take over the patterns of our mind. It can hypnotize us. And the reality of it is that no one is stuck, right? No one's stuck physically. Is it all happens in our biochemistry in our brain, or if we use the metaphor between a rock and a hard place. The only person that was between a rock and a hard place is maybe the individual that was in the documentary. I forget what the name of the documentary was, but you all get my point, is that none of us are actually stuck, or I'm at the end of my rope. You're not actually on the end of a rope. So be careful with the metaphors that you tell yourself or you tell others that you're wiring your brain. Is that the truth is that a lot of times we use these metaphors to give us an excuse to see something worse than it is, or to allow ourselves to become complacent and being still. But the reality of it is that we just have to make a decision. Listen, every single person gets frustrated, anxious, pissed, angry at some point in time. The reality of it is you just don't want to stay there. You want to be able to switch, adapt. You want to be able to snap out of it as quickly as you're in it. So 80% of it is just realizing the pattern, right? And so I think that being stuck is number one, a metaphor. But I think that there's real strategy at getting through it to create positive momentum. And so I'm going to kind of tell you three things that you can do immediately to create a shift. And the number one thing is to shift your movement. Make a drastic change in the way that you're breathing, the way that you're moving, the way that you're standing, and do it immediately. As soon as you feel yourself becoming paralyzed or feeling this stuck metaphor, immediately go sprint, go run, move your body. Motion creates emotion, right? It's scientifically proven that it will shift. It will allow you to adapt. It will change and shift your biochemistry and allow you to raise your standard, right? And so that's number one. Number two is to breathe. And when you move, you're going to breathe differently, right? But you want to put yourself in a resourceful state. And finally, number three is focus on your purpose. Focus on just one thing that you can achieve for that day. But I think it's really important that all of us realize that there's two exercises you can do that immediately can move you forward, right? One of them comes from a good friend of mine, Joseph McClendon III, and he talks about attitude. I know that he's spoken at our events, but one of the things that he's doing is he's teaching people how to snap out of a specific state that they're in so they don't stay there, right? So they can continue to move forward. So he basically gets everyone up and he puts on music and he has them just move their ass. He makes them dance, right? Which is moving their body, their physiology. It's shifting their emotional state, which shifts the biochemistry of the brain, right? So that's one exercise, is follow the dancing, the attitude exercise. But number two is an interesting exercise that I learned from Amy Cuddy. She was a researcher for Harvard University, and they did a study on how physiology can shift your body's biochemistry. And here's what the study came out is she would have everyone pose like a hero. It would be called a power posing. And they did it as a science, right? And so what they found was that just by standing in a powerful state, you could increase your testosterone by over 20%. And then you could decrease your cortisol, which is your fear hormone or your stress hormone, by 18%. So this is a great tool if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling nervous, if you're feeling fear. It's kind of like Mel Robbins' 5-second rule, right? Mel Robbins says, count to 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and do it anyway, right? But strike a power pose. And 33% of the people they found through the study were more apt to make a courageous decision, a risky decision. And right now, the state that we're in, people need more certainty. They need to be able to make decisions. Decisions are a fact of life. Decisions we have to make each and every day. But being courageous in the decisions that we make, strike a power pose before you make those decisions. But a power pose alone can create forward momentum in your life. So if you couple that with actual movement, like the attitude, plus you can focus on that dramatic shift in your breathing. These are great tools to help you continue to move forward. The other thing I would say is to focus on one thing you can accomplish, right? Instead of being overwhelmed by a million different things, again, break it back down to the basics, and find things that cause you to feel powerful. Uncover what is stopping you, right? So you can become resourceful in emotions that serve you, like compassion, love, kindness, strength, pleasure, inspiration, those type of things. So remember, whatever adversity that you're facing, adversity is what introduces you to the person that you are. Adversity introduces a person to themselves ultimately. And so hopefully these exercises, I guess you could say that there's 3 exercises. Number 1 is attitude. Number 2 is strike a pose. And then number 3 would be Mel Robbins' 5-second rule. But those are 3 things that I think everyone can relate to, and they're very, very, very simple, and it will help you switch, right? It doesn't mean that you're not going to get in different feelings or different states that don't serve you. Everyone does. The key is do not stay there, right? And the quicker you can have the psychology of being aware of it, the quicker you can use the 20% of the strategy to shift it immediately so you don't stay there, that you snap out of it immediately. And so remember this, is your past doesn't equal your future, your present doesn't equal your future. Make a courageous decision today in a strong mode, in a strong state to determine where you're going to be in the future. So with that being said, continue to dare to be yourself, and appreciate each and every one of you guys for listening. Love you guys, and we'll talk to you soon.